when the Spirit is upon.
Welcome, everyone. It's really nice to have you all here today. And this webinar is definitely going to be an interesting one, an enlightening one. And it's really exciting for me because the kind of creatives we have here are celebrities and people that I know that everyone would like to hear from. So we're going to get into it very soon, and you're going to learn, you're going to be inspired by them. Before we get into it, I'm just going to say a bit about Pavetones and let Ms. Marilyn Rapu also say a bit about the Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce. The webinar is titled Maximizing Your Intellectual Property Rights and Value in the Creative Industry, and is organized by Pavetones in collaboration with the Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce. Today's webinar promises to be interesting, inspiring, and an opportunity for you all to learn something that we hope will be of benefit to you at some point. To tell you a bit about Pavetones, Pavetones is a modern, full-service law practice with strong track record in successfully supporting both local and international clients in operating in Nigeria. We're a multi-award-winning law practice. We describe ourselves as modern because of our values of simplicity in our service delivery, accessibility, commercial savviness, and use of technology in disseminating information freely to people and companies to help them succeed. As a result of this passion, this webinar has been put together for you because we know there's a lot of information that you can gather from our esteemed panelists that can help you succeed in the creative space. Once again, thank you all for joining, and I look forward to an interesting session. I am Seun Timi-Koleolu, and I will now hand over to Marilyn Rapu, the Director General of the Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce, to say a few words. Welcome. Marilyn, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kike. I think that I'm just looking at the participants and I see 20. I hope that we'll have more participants because we had 142 registrations. So I'm hoping that this event will be well attended. And but I will start. I will not let that discourage me. I'll start by introducing myself again. I'm Marilyn Rapu, and I'm the Director General at the Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce. I've been in this role for the past 2.5 years. So what our chamber does basically is to promote bilateral relations between Nigeria and Germany. And we sort of like try to foster trade and investment between Nigeria and Germany. We are a crucial link for people who are looking to do business in Nigeria, in Germany, and vice versa for people who are Germans who are looking to do business in Nigeria. Through our various programs, we have a lot of, we try to invest in the business community. So we have programs like this. We have advocacy projects as well. We have conferences. We have the Nigerian-German conference taking place on the 7th of October. And then we have network sessions for people who are startup organizations and young professionals who just want to understand business, want to be mentored by people who are already in our organization. We have about 150 organizations in our membership, 90 of which are German companies, and the rest are Nigerian companies that either buy equipment from Germany or they buy spare parts from Germany, or they use German models or tools for their businesses here in Nigeria. So thank you so much for joining us today. This event, I'm hoping we're investing in the creative industry and hoping that this will educate us and show us what the right way to go is in terms of intellectual property. We know that the creative industry in Nigeria has become so important, and it is thriving internationally and globally. And so we do not want to underestimate the importance of this topic. Thank you very much for attending, and I'll hand it back over to Seun, who is coordinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn, for that very useful speech. Now, I'm just going to go straight to discussing with the panelists. I know Gaise is trying to log on right now. He's having a little technical hitch. So he will be on here very soon. But I'm just going to take time to introduce our panelists who are here, and at some point we will have Gaise. Firstly, I will introduce Okiki Marinho. Okiki Marinho is the founder of the Okiki Marinho brand, a made-to-measure, ready-to-wear clothing brand that also creates handcrafted leather products and beaded items. One of her creative works is the exceptional talking drum bag. She's also the head of brands and sustainability at the Women International Trade Connect, where she focuses on advancing the participation of African female entrepreneurs in international trade by providing access to global markets and opportunities to scale through mass markets. She is a visionary leader at the forefront of driving innovation and transformation in the SME space. With a passion for creativity and a keen business acumen, she has carved out a distinguished path, redefining standards and shaping trends within the competitive landscape. Okiki has a degree in economics with business and East European studies from the University College London, as well as a degree in business administration and management from the University of Warwick Business School, the UK. Okiki Marinho, you are welcome. Please unmute yourself. Moving on, I will introduce Toyosi Etim-Effiong. Toyosi Etim-Effiong is the founder, CEO of That Good Media, a leading Pan-African media solutions company specializing in talent management and international strategic partnerships. She is also an independent TV producer who has produced talk shows, including As Toyosi's, which is licensed to Africa Magic and aired across 54 countries in Africa. She also has a podcast known as Toyosi. She is a distinguished media executive who is bridging the gap between Nollywood and the global film and TV industry. With almost 10 years of multifaceted experience in the media industry, she possesses the exposure and skills needed to drive media-related projects. She's a go-to personality and brand for anyone seeking to connect with stakeholders in the media and entertainment industry on the African continent. Toyosi is well-read and has acquired multiple degrees, including the Bachelor of Science in Economics from Bowen College. She has 2 diplomas from New York Film Academy and a Master of Science in Economy from University of Nottingham. She's honored as one of the 100 most influential women in Lagos State. Toyosi, it's amazing to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Good to have you.
My name here says Damilola Owolabi, though. I don't know if that can be.
That will be correct. Thank you, Toyosi. Now, we now have Gaise, and I will just introduce him a little. I'll say a bit about him. And I'm sure he doesn't really need much introduction, just like a lot of panelists or all our panelists. Gaise, as he is known in the music industry, and his name is actually Akin-Ade Ibuoye. Gaise, please correct me if I haven't done well.
It's fine, it's fine.
Got it, okay. Gaise is an award-winning Afrofusion artist who performs socially conscious music in Yoruba, English, and West African Pidgin languages. He has greatly impacted the Nigerian music industry, not only as a recording and performing artist, but also as a concert promoter, festival founder, and curator. He is the founder of social impact initiatives that serve youth audiences and communities. One of these initiatives is called The Lightout, where he leverages music and art to help positively influence students in high schools to make the right choices. This initiative has reached over 29,000 teenagers and preteens so far. He is also the founder of Aramanda, a culture-shaping Afro-urban music and art festival that connects with young and social, digitally savvy and trendy Africans who love music and art, and to enable them experience alternative Christian sounds, genres, and expressions. Gaise is widely referred to as the culture architect. He travels from country to country, delivering outstanding musical performances that will positively impact cultures and reframe minds. He has a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the Obafemi Awolowo University and a Diploma in Music Business from Berklee College of Music, Boston. Gaise has been honored as one of the 100 most influential people in Christian ministry. Welcome, Gaise. Very impressive.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. Now, lastly, but definitely not the least, is my very own partner, managing partner here and partner at Pavetones, Aderonke. She has over 15 years active legal experience. She has experience advising clients on business formation, fintech, data protection, employment, and intellectual property matters. Aderonke is an award-winning lawyer, internationally recognized as highly regarded in the legal industry. She has a Bachelor of Law degree from Obafemi Awolowo University and Master of Laws in Business and Finance at the George Washington University Law School, US. She's also a chairman of a subcommittee at the MBA section of Business Law. Aderonke Alex-Adedipe, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and Seun, thanks for the introduction.
I have taken time in introducing panelists to also say their degrees, because I know quite a few people are in the creative space and there's that influence of drop out of school and start your creative works, but each person here has a degree and an impressive one. So I thought it'd be useful to chip that in. I'm now going to move on to the questions. And firstly, Gaise, my first question is for you. I would like you to talk to us about how you discovered your passion for music and what other forms of creative expressions you have. I also would like to know about you as the culture architect. So just talk us through it, Gaise.
All right. Thank you, Seun. How I discovered my passion for music. I think from young. First time I sang in public, I was 4 years old. My mom took myself and my immediate senior sister to sing in her school. She was principal of the School of Nursing at Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospitals Complex. So I think there was a carol of some sort. And I mean, I've been harmonizing since I was maybe like 4 or so. So I remember first time I sang in public, I was about 4 years old. Then Sunday school, the basic, I mean, almost everybody goes through that. Sunday school. So I just knew I loved music. I loved listening to music, but I was not creating music. I didn't create music until I was out of high school. So I was out of high school, went to King's College. When I was in King's College, I was in the choir, I was in school choir, I was also in the fellowship choir, finished high school. So it was like about a year afterwards that I started trying to write and gradually became better at writing. And so my amateur journey started like that. But then, I mean, I still had to go to school, went to study economics while I was in OAU. I was still, I mean, pursuing my music. So I remember while I was in school, I organized 2 concerts at amphitheater. I'm sure Aderonke did that. I mean, that venue will resonate with her. So I organized my first concert ever in amphitheater in 2006 as a 200 level student. I organized the next one, and that was a big flop, by the way, in terms of attendance. So like the students didn't turn up. So I had to learn doggedness, learn resilience, learn trying again. Then 2 years after, I tried again my final year, and I was able to pack out amphitheater. Then finished from OAU, served right after my youth service. I went straight into music professionally as a career path. So I never did anything. I never had the experience you guys have, man. I don't I don't know what a 9 to 5 feels like. Right.
I see it has worked out for you anyway. So not
Thank
everyone
God.
needs to follow the 9 to 5 path. What about this cultural architect name that you have? Yeah, thing. And I
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
for the first time in England when I came for your concert a few weeks ago. An amazing concert, I must say, Gaise.
Thank
Tell
you.
me about it.
So basically, as a culture architect, it just means that I shape culture. Like the work that I do is with the aim of shaping culture. So um for me, it's kind of like a two-edged sword. I'm big on faith, so my music is an expression of my faith. I'm a Christian. At the same time, I'm passionate about my continent. I'm very passionate about Africa, right? So on one hand, my music expresses my essence as a Christian, and my faith, and that forms my ideology and my mindset. But at the very same time, it's still representing who I am as a person and where I'm from as an African. So you hear Yoruba in my music, you see my fashion. If I could show you my complete outfit now, is very African, even though it's very like eccentric and urban, but it's African at its core. So it's I'm a vivid representation of where I'm from, and I carry it on my chest. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud African,
I
right?
love that.
I've been in the UK for a few weeks now, but everywhere I go, I literally wear Africa on my chest and all. So it's when I say culture architect, it's first kingdom, and by kingdom I mean my faith as a Christian, but at the same time, I'm still exporting my culture as an African from the southwestern part of Nigeria, if you
Okay.
get what I mean. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaze. Thank you for that. Very helpful. Okiki Marinho, can we hear you?
Hello, everyone. Can you unmute, Sean? I can't hear you.
My question for you, I would like you to tell us about your journey into the Okiki Marinho brand. Tell me how your journey began and what inspired your creative direction.
Well, where does one begin? I sincerely think I was born to just be in the creative space because from a very young age, I was never fond of anything academic. My dad was a full-on career person, and just because I admired him a lot, I always thought I wanted to be a banker. So as children, when they ask you what do you want to be when you grow up, I'll just say I want to be a banker. But I never really understood what it entailed. Then later in life, when I found out, it would be nice for me to know a lot of mathematics, I was never fond of the subject. So I was like, how am I going to be a banker if I don't even like maths? But I noticed that art subjects, government, politics, anything that would entail me arguing, I would enjoy that. So normally I should have said, I should be a lawyer. But I now noticed I also didn't enjoy reading books. I detested reading for long. I like snapshots of things. Even in my adult life now, I still like things, just get to the point, So I said, okay, so I can't be a lawyer either. But because, I was born to Nigerian parents that were very into career, very career-driven people, I decided to stick to banking. So I went on to University College London. Like Seun had mentioned earlier, I read economics with business and East European studies, which entailed us traveling. We got to travel a lot. We did study abroad programs in Czech Republic. Then when I was in school, against my dad's wish, I decided to get a job in a British store called Hobbs. And Hobbs is like a very high-end, fashion store for, affluent men and women abroad. And that was when I decided I wanted to go into fashion. Like, it was very clear to me. I loved serving customers. I liked the reaction of women, how they felt in clothes, and I didn't know how to communicate this to my parents since I was already on the journey into banking. So I still carried on, finished from UCL with a 2-1, so I made my parents very proud. Went on to work at UBS Investment Bank, did that for maybe 3 or 4 years. Went on to JP Morgan. So I feel like I was still living the life I didn't quite want, though I was happy because, I was earning well. These, good paying jobs. I was in the risk department and all of that. And one year I decided it was time to move back to Lagos, Nigeria. And once I got back, it became apparent to me that it was time for a career change. I now didn't know how to inform my dad, who is a seasoned banker, that his daughter wanted to go into fashion. So I first joined an oil and gas company in 2010. I did that just under 2 years. And whilst I was doing that, I had already started a tailoring business on the side. So I said to myself, if I could do this business and I could earn what I was earning from the oil and gas company, I'll be able to prove to my dad that I can move into fashion and be comfortable. So 2 years into my oil and gas business, my fashion business was also doing equally as well. So I resigned from my oil and gas business without even telling my dad I was going to resign. Then I came to lay it on his table that I was ready to go into the fashion world. And of course, I had no formal training in it, nothing.
Okiki, I'm going to ask you to kind of move a bit faster because of time.
So anyways, the long and short of it is I was able to convince him that this was now my new career path. And I started that in 2012, and I've been in the fashion industry since 2012. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
Not for now, but thank you.
No problem.
I think a lot of people
did ask for
are having that struggle.
You asked for my journey, so a journey can be said in 30 seconds.
It's not a short journey. Thank you, Okiki. Thank you so much. Toyosi, I have a question for you. So tell us, what inspired that good media, and how do you identify and nurture talent in such a competitive industry?
So thank you again for inviting me, to be a part of this panel. And I think panels like this are very important, especially in times like this where the creative industry is really taking shape. The Nigerian creative industry is taking shape and being recognized more globally. So that good media came as a solution to a problem. I had studied producing and broadcast journalism, and I came back to Nigeria planning to produce movies and do stuff. And I put out talk shows. I helped some people produce their own talk shows. And then I started to support my husband. My husband is an actor, the best actor in Nigeria and Africa, going to take over Hollywood and the rest of the world.
Love it.
So I was looking through his contracts, and I was now helping with his negotiations and all of that. And that's pretty much how this started, So supported him with his like PR and just especially negotiations, because some producers will just want to, you know how they used to offer exposure back then, like we'll give you exposure, we'll give you exposure. And I'm there like, you're a family man, no exposure is not going to pay the bills. Yeah. So helped with the contracts, all of that. And then some of his friends noticed that I was supporting him with that and then asked that I help them with theirs. And suddenly I was looking through people's contracts and helping people with their negotiations and then helping them with their PR, social media, all of that. And I was just like, you know what? This is a business. I know that I want to do some producing, but there's a business opportunity here and now. So initially with him, I'll just do it like, oh, wife. But then I started saying, guy, you know, I'm going to take a percentage of this contract if you want me to look through it for you. And he agreed. And then, like I said, some of his friends, his colleagues came on board. And suddenly we had a talent agency with talents. And your second question was, how is it nurturing talents in in an era like this? We started off with the A-listers, to be honest. So we didn't start off with like young, fresh talents. We started off with the established talents because one, I realized that there wasn't much structure in how they were doing things. And I wanted to put some structure to it just so that systems are in place and things are just done properly, right? And then secondly, internationally, some production companies or brands will not even touch you if you don't have if you do not have representation, right? They won't speak to the talent directly. They want to speak through your agent or your manager. So we started off with A-listers, and so we didn't have to do much nurturing per se. It was just like there's a better way to do things, right? We can look for opportunities for you. We can look through your contracts and make sure that you are not signing something that you should not be signing, and we're looking out for your best interest. So that's pretty much how we started and sort of where we are now.
Wow, a very interesting story. And yes, I think we all know your husband. Great
Thank
actor.
you.
And I love the
Thank
words
you.
as a good wife.
Thank
So
you.
Aderonke, you're a lawyer, I know, but are you a creative yourself? Are you into that space in any way? And yeah, so are you?
Okay. So I know you mentioned at the beginning of this call that all of us on this panel are celebrities. I'm not a celebrity. Let me
You're
correct.
my celebrity. But
Let me correct that. I'm just a lawyer. And so I'm going to answer this question like a typical lawyer that I am. I'm sure the general presumption, right, would be for me to say, no, I'm not a creative. But given that the question is, who is a creative, right? And to my mind, I believe that a creative is someone who uses their imagination, who uses their mind to provide innovative solutions to problems, to resolving issues. And so given that my day-to-day job actually involves, providing legal solutions to clients who have one problem or the other, or who have one legal question or the other that needs to be answered, I would say that I am a creative. In addition to that, I publish articles. I write articles that are published in magazines, published online, published in various journals. And given that those are reduced into a fixed form, I would say in brief that yes, I'm a creative. So I hope that answers your question.
Spoken well as a lawyer. And you know my next question. So since you've already said going into the different types of creative works, tell us a bit more, educate our audience. What are the different types of IP, creative works and IP protection available according to those works?
Okay, so in terms of
When I say
IP
IP, intellectual
protection, yeah, generally, under Nigerian law, there are 4 major types of intellectual property protection rights. And the first one, which is the most popular, is the trademark. Your trademark essentially is an intellectual property rights that, is used to distinguish your goods or your services from other products. And typically you use words or a logo or a tagline or a combination of those to protect your trademark. And a typical example of that is the Nike swoosh and the Just Do It tagline, or the MTN, the best connection. Those are typical examples of trademarks that come to mind.
Gaise culture architect.
Excuse me?
Gaise culture architect.
Exactly, the culture architect.
So if you haven't registered it,
that's an interesting tagline. So yes, it could be his trademark. Another type of intellectual property is your design. So your design essentially protects the aesthetics of your product. So I'll use my phone as an example. So the overall outlook of this phone, if I seek to protect it, will be protecting my design. Another popular intellectual property right is your patent. So your patent helps you to protect inventions in technology. So basically technological inventions that provide solutions, right? And finally, you have your copyrights, which I'm sure all of us here are aware of. And your copyrights protects your music, your arts, your movies, your poems, your drama, your publications, and whatnot. So yeah, in summary, those are the 4 major types of IP rights that we have in Nigeria.
Thank you, Aderonke. I'm moving on to Gaise. Gaise, you have grown over the years to be one of Nigeria's finest music artists. How have you balanced your passion for sharing your music with the public with the need to maximize monetary value in your creative works? Like Toyosi had talked about the issue between her husband being a popular movie star and yet having to take care of the family and maximize value. Tell me how you've done that.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's always a tricky bit, more especially in Nigeria, where the structure is the no structure. The no structure is the structure. If you get what I mean. How have I been able to navigate that? We're still in the process of navigating it, right? That's honest truth. But by and large, we've tried. There's I mean, we have earnings from streaming, which is better for the artists now than before, because the bulk of those earnings actually do come from abroad. There's that. Publishing as well, almost your entire publishing is coming from abroad because the structure back home isn't there's no proper structure for publishing collection within the country. Then of course, everywhere around the world, the chief source of earnings for artists is still live performances. So that's where the bulk income comes from. For faith-based artists like myself, the primary customer is the church. However, for the subsect that I am in, that's not so much as much that's not as much as how it is for the traditional gospel artists who would help the church with worship, who would help the church with praise. And where I find myself, where I'm not leading worship, I'm not leading praise, I'm making conversational music, I'm making topical music, and I'm making music that is dealing with different issues and addressing different topics, then I do not have as much patronage, commercial patronage. I mean, I know this might not be words that folks are used to hearing from gospel artists, but it is what it is. Commercial patronage from the church. And so over the years, we have had to build independent platforms and routes and mediums. So organizing my own shows, founding Aramanda Festival, where people actually do pay for tickets, and we do say so. If we do say so ourselves, we have been a major part of building that culture of Christians actually paying for events, which wasn't a thing in Nigeria. But now we have sold thousands of tickets to Nigerians who have paid to attend Aramanda in Lagos, in Abuja. I started Lounge 464 in Lagos. We executed 13 editions of that, and everyone was ticketed, and people paid on a monthly basis to come watch Gaise perform for 1.5, 2 hours. So I've had to find those alternative platforms and build platforms independent of the existing system. So there's a new system that is brewing and growing. I organized Gaise Baba Live in concert in 2012 at the Muson Center. We packed our Muson Center and we did not give free tickets. It was paid. That's income. We did Aramanda at Landmark, executed it, paid for Landmark. They did not charge us less because it's gospel. They charged us their full couple of millions. We used the whole B the first time last year, Easter. By December, we went to the biggest hall in Landmark, packed our Landmark. Christian youth came out, paid for tickets, and came to execute. Malta Guinness sponsored, Coke sponsored. So we have something growing. Right. This year in Easter, we went to Abuja. We carried Aramanda, the festival, to Abuja, executed in Abuja, and it was ticketed as well by the grace of God. And folks bought tickets, came to watch a good show. So that is how we have navigated our unique challenge. Yeah. Because with every unique challenge is also an opportunity for something new to be birthed. Right. So I think that, I mean, that's my answer.
So I'm hearing from you, be bold, create platforms where you can make money. You don't have to follow whatever is there. You can actually create your own stage where you get paid for. Toyosi, my next question is to you. Can you share a success story where you have protected or helped a client in a way that helped to protect their intellectual property and their creative works? I know that Good Media has various talents that it manages. How have you helped protect some of your clients and their works from being overly exploited?
I think one person overly exploited.
Being exploited.
Yes, being overly exploited. I mean, one person that comes to mind is Miss Shafi Bello, an actress, you may know her. And she had this idea for a while where she would pass on the knowledge that she has because she's been in the industry for a while. And so we sat with her, talked to her, and then there was the idea of a master class. Like, let's have her do a master class. Now, that master class, we ensured that it was just that she owned it, so that she owned every part of it. Yes, we were looking for sponsors. Yes, we wanted people to come on board to support, but we were very careful in the sense that nobody can take that idea tomorrow and say, oh, they want to run off with this master class. Or it's theirs because they put in money. No, it was very clear that it belonged to her. I think that's the first thing that just comes to mind in terms of protecting the IP. But when we look at contracts now, because we also look for opportunities or source for opportunities for the talent outside of the acting world or even the entertainment. So more like partnerships with brands. We ensure that the rights to their image and the rights to the rights that the brand has to use the image of our client is not in perpetuity. It's not like forever and ever, amen. No, it's not like that. It's like you're going to use this for 6 months and that's it. If you want to use it for another 6 months, you have to pay for it. If you want to use it for another year, you have to pay. There has to be just remuneration for the exploitation of these talents, image. Yeah. So I think that's the major thing we look out for, just in terms of no agreement runs forever. We ensure that it is time bound so that every time it wants to be reused, the talent gets paid again for it. And that's how that's what obtains in other countries, But we're picking up here. We're picking up in Nigeria. Yeah.
Thank you, Toyosi. I think you've just given free consultation that people will usually for. So thanks for that.
Thank
you add.
Thank you.
Okiki Marinho, I would like to hear from you next. Have you ever experienced an infringement of your IP rights? I know you create unique works like the talking drum. So if you have, please share with us how it impacted your business and how you handled it.
Yeah, so in November 2012, I created a bag called the Talking Drum. When it came out, a lot of people, they were really excited for me, amazed by it. They didn't even think it was made by a Nigerian. But I think I took the design for granted, because sometimes as creatives, we think it just comes easily to us to just create anything. And since 2012 till date, it's still one of the most unique handbags from Nigeria, So a couple of years into, okay, maybe about 6-7 years later, a customer actually wrote to me that she had seen a similar bag that looked so much like the Talking Drum on someone, and that when she asked them about it, they were like, no, it's not from Okiki Marinho. They called some other random brand. So initially I just thought, anyone can make something similar, But when other customers, people now started writing that, hi, we just want you to know that, have you heard of, I think the person was called Zeba Art, some random name. I was like, I've never heard of it before. So I snooped around, found the lady on social media. She had no shop or phone number. You can only send her DMs. And I looked at her and I said to myself, I didn't even know how to approach her and start saying, you're copying my design. Because at that point, it was clear to me that she was copying, she had tweaked it a bit. So rather than me reach out to her, I actually reached out to a lawyer first. And I sent in my work. I sent in the original design from 2012. And when they saw it, they said to me that they can't promise, but that they'll see if it will qualify for a patent. So I was like, okay. At that point in time, I never even knew that we as fashion designers could patent anything, really. So it took some months, but eventually the lawyer came back and said it went through. I met all the requirements for me to pass to get the patent for that bag, because we were able to prove that it was an original design by me, So we did that, and the name as well, the Ola Talking Drum. So it's after that we were able to send the cis and desist to the other lady, and she stopped. Then in more recent times, last year, someone again, same thing again, started copying. This one, they were even more blatant. And it happened to be someone I knew in my social circle. And I was very confused by the whole thing, because I was like, this person knows me, so they can't say they don't know this bag belongs to me. So thankfully, because now I had a lawyer, the lawyer could reach out to them easily. And he immediately stopped, because when you have good lawyers, they know what to write to get these people to understand that they can make me a richer woman if you don't, stop. And the person reached out to me separately saying that, oh my goodness, he never knew I had the patent or, rights. Like he also got his lawyers to go and look into it, whether would, telling a feeble, So yeah, so I mean, I'm proud that I could do that. But in more recent times, Osheon, I know you soon abruptly stopped me. So because I wanted to link it, I wanted to link it to
Go on. Although I would like you to be clear on what lawyers helped you, and I think it was design rights that we got
design
for
rights.
you.
Okay,
You
so
know,
it's
you shouldn't be
design rights.
modest with that information that it was Pavetones.
It was Pavetones that helped me. It
I
was
registered your
Pavetones that
design rights.
it
Yes.
was Pavetones that got the design rights for me,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
other people can just abruptly. But Pavestones, let me ask, I don't know if Ronke is there as well. If people abroad like Shein and Tumi, platforms like that called Shein, Fashion Over, if they start copying the same bag and it's abroad, how does one even fight that? Because in more recent times, because I'm now part of another organization where we're trying to give exposure to Nigerian female entrepreneurs in the creative space and all, we're now seeing blatantly, they go on social media, they copy and paste, they can blatantly take me as I am, this picture, put it on their own shopping platforms and tell you to buy what I am wearing. And it's getting increasingly worse. And I'm actually concerned that no one seems to be making a lot of noise on that because we don't have Shein's type of money or clout. So as an organization, we've even written to the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and they've actually been quite helpful, and they're going to be webinars and things that they're going to send so that we also know our rights internationally. Because I don't think Shein and the rest should just be allowed to grab a talking drum, put it on their platform and sell, So it would be interesting for you guys to let us know, on the Nigerian scene, is there anything that can be done if that happens,
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Okiki.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm just going to move on to Aderonke, who you have directed a question to. But Aderonke, I believe perhaps in the course of responding to the next question, you could also mention how the people like Okiki Marinho can protect their rights at an international level. The question I had for you is actually how important is it for creatives to have legal representation and in signing deals, in partnerships, in protecting their works? So Aderonke.
Okay, to answer your question, at the risk of sounding cliche, right, I would say that it is better to be proactive than to be reactive. And one experience that I've had as a lawyer is there are times that I introduce myself to people and they ask me what I do for a living. And this is not even something that is not peculiar to creatives. I would say it's a general misconception in Nigeria, especially for SMEs and small business owners. And when I introduce myself and I say, oh, I'm a lawyer, that's what I do for a living. And they say to me, oh, okay. So we know when we get into trouble, we know who to call. Or when there's an issue, we know who to call. And then I have to take time to explain, to say, look, it's actually not my job to resolve issues for you. I'm a business lawyer, right? And as a business lawyer, it's my obligation to spot issues. It's my obligation to be able to potentially cite a problem and be able to advise you appropriately on it. And so what I would just say is that it is important for you. I was watching, by the way, I was watching an interview with the late Onyeka Onwenu, where she had suggested that, back in the days, they never used to read the fine prints. That's creatives. They just used to sign away all of their rights. And it took them years upon years to discover that they've actually signed away a lot of the value in their IP, in their music, in their videos, in their performances. And so it wasn't until recently that, creatives started to recognize that there was a right and a valuable asset to be protected. Now, when you engage a lawyer from the onset, that obviously can be prevented. Like Toyosi mentioned when she was speaking, a lawyer would typically help you review or draft your partnership contracts, will help you with your licensing agreements, will ensure that your rights are adequately protected to the extent that you haven't signed away your rights in perpetuity, you are still entitled to, you still have ownership of your IP, and you're also entitled to royalties and stuff like that. So that is on one hand. On the other hand, I would also say that your lawyer is potentially your strategic partner. So even outside of IP matters, right? Because of, if you have an experienced lawyer, because of the level of exposure of that lawyer, potentially that lawyer is helping you, is advising you on a large variety of matters. The lawyer is advising you on things like investment strategies, your business structure, your shareholding structure, your fundraising, your employer relations, and a host of your contracts. There's a whole lot of stuff that your lawyer is potentially advising you on. And like I said from the onset, once you get, it's almost like a foundational problem. When you don't get the foundation, when you don't engage a lawyer, you don't engage a professional, your foundation is wrong and it becomes a problem. But when you manage that foundation from the onset by engaging a professional who is essentially your partner, they foresee, problems that can arise in the future, and they help you to prevent those problems. So in a nutshell, I would say that it's very important for you to engage a lawyer. And to Okiki's question, I've also seen some, I've also seen some images online. And I guess Shein is very popular for that. And what I would just say is that it's IP rights, unfortunately, are jurisdiction-based. So it's good for you to, as much as possible, if you're doing business in a particular jurisdiction, again, engage a lawyer so that you know your IP rights. Now, in terms of copyrights, generally speaking, you actually don't even need to have registered your copyrights for you to have protection. However, when you register your copyrights, it is an additional protection for you. So if you're doing business in certain jurisdictions, the best thing is for you to understand what the law of that jurisdiction is and try as much as possible to register your copyrights, or even your design, like Okiki mentioned in her own case, so that you're able to protect yourself. And it's, like I said, it's an additional protection, and it's first and foremost evidence of your work, and that it is actually your work, and so you have additional protection. So yeah, that's my response to that.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Adi. So in the interest of time, I have quite a few questions, but I'm just going to ask one each next. So we let the audience ask some questions and then we can round up. The plan is to go a little over to about 15 past. So Gaise, so many questions for you, but I will.
I knew you were going to almost start with me, and in my head, I was
I
already
should
saying,
mix it around.
it's usually ladies first. Like, I don't understand how on this
Ladies first.
show is you are starting with the guy every time.
You're right, but well, we are here, so you stay talking. So
But
I'm
it's
going to.
fine, it's fine. I'm blessed among women, so it's all right.
So, Gaise, my question for you too is similar to what I had asked Okiki. Have you had a negative experience in the course of your career with respect to people exploiting your works, or have you entered into unfavorable contracts? And what is your advice to upcoming creatives to avoid some of the issues you have encountered so they don't have to encounter the same issues? Please.
Okay, so fortunately, this is kind of answer where I can answer in the positive.
Oh,
Like,
right.
no, I haven't, and that's because when I think it was Aderonke that was speaking about one of the legends of the Nigerian music industry, saying that they didn't used to read the fine print, and immediately I said it to myself, like, me, I read fine print, like I read fine print, like it's almost like a personal culture. I have an eye for detail. So my very first music contract, I read it 4 times personally.
Wow.
I had my sister, who's a lawyer, read it twice. I had her colleague at work read it twice. So my contract was read from my own side 8 times. I already had my edits. I already had which is why I tell creatives, like, don't overlook a good education, because education makes you a better anything. Interestingly, I heard that statement from Onyeka Owenu. Such an irony. She said, education makes you a better anything. So anything you're trying to be, an education will make you better at that thing. So I read my contract so well, I understood it, that 3 years into the contract, I wanted to make an adjustment to the terms, not the percentage sharing, the model with which repayment, or how do I put it now? When we can then recouping, the model with which recouping will be done, right? I wanted to make an adjustment to it. So I approached the person who signed me, and I was saying, this is how we've operated. I want us to tweak this, because I was getting an allowance off the contract, and the allowance was further pushing away breaking even. And I couldn't recoup until we had broken even. So I was saying, I want to stop the allowances so that we can quickly break even. So I stopped getting an allowance, and I can now be earning directly from the music. And I remember him saying to me, I'm very impressed, because it shows that you understand your contract. And he then gave me examples of bigger stars at the time who used to come meet him, and he knew that this guy doesn't even understand what's inside his contract. So that's an issue with creatives most times. But I mean, I read my contract, I understand it. I have maybe 4 trademarks. Aramanda is trademarked, Lightout is trademarked, Gaise Baba is trademarked. So I mean, maybe because I have lawyer friends or lawyer relationships, my dad is a lawyer. Ideally, I would have been a lawyer, but just like Okiki, Marinho, I went to my dad's office, I saw all the books, and I was like, are these the books? I was like 10 years old or so, 11. I asked my dad, are these all the books you read to become a lawyer? And he said, no, these are the books he's reading now. So I said, oh, after all the years of studying, you are still reading all these ones now, even after you have become a lawyer? He says, yes. At that moment, I knew that's not my line. Right? So I mean, so I have that kind of like like background, so maybe that helps me, but still, you still have to be guarded as much as possible, which is why, after this call now, since you guys owe me, I'll probably be chatting with you and Aderonke.
We owe you, you're right, no problem. Send it our way. Okay, so what I heard you say is read your contracts and understand it, and don't enter into on stringent terms or
and
agree.
don't take for granted that you can read. So if you notice, I said I read 4 times, but despite the fact that I'd read and understood, I had the lawyer relationships I had read it as well, just in case there is legal jargon that is beyond my exposure. So I understood on my level, but I also had lawyers read it. So don't just think because you read it enough, then you've covered all the bases. You still need a legal mind to look through for you.
Thank you, Gaise. So I'm moving on, and I'm going to move to Toyosi. So Toyosi, my question for you is, as a media executive who is bridging the gap between Nollywood and the global film and TV industry, and you are doing big things, and we know, how do you ensure that talents are protected on an international level?
So that's easy. That's, for me, it's partnerships. I am sure that I have partners in the US, because that's the country that we're focused on primarily. So I have partners who understand that system, right? I'm not going there like I understand their own space. Like someone mentioned, all these things are regional. So if we're in Nigeria, Africa, in fact, even within Africa, they're different turfs. It's still different. So I don't assume that I know how things are done internationally. I am educating myself, I am studying, and I'm having conversations, ensuring that I'm getting more insight on how it works, but I'm not going into it without partners. That's my simple that's my simple answer, because then it's the partners that will, guide me in terms of, okay, the law firm that works for a certain project, or just the entire everything really. So it's partnerships right now. That's my simple answer.
So can I just ask you another question? Do you have tips for people in your space on how to make those kind of partnerships, or just, it feels like you have strong networking skills. We're watching you from far. Tell us.
I do have strong networking skills. So someone here who wants to get into the industry internationally, let me speak on the film and TV industry right now. And I have advised the industry before, and I'll continue to advise the industry with what I know. Attend industry events. Attend international industry events. I know people say, oh, things are tough, all of that. Try, okay? Instead of saving for an iPhone, save for Cannes Film Festival. Save for a ticket to go to Tribeca. Save for Sundance. Know the kind of industry events that appeal to what you are trying to do, and then attend. There's Venice Film Festival. There are global film festivals. I have made friends in different places just because I was at the right place at the right time. Because the thing is, when you go to places like that, you all have similar interests. Do you understand? You can bond on the similar interest of film, first of all, as opposed to running into somebody in a regular restaurant. If it's maybe like an upscale restaurant, you can talk about the chef and the food and all of that. But if you go for a film festival, if you go for which one just happened recently? In fact, like Onga is going on now, and I know that there are different creative economic conversations going on there. If you go to places like that, you know that you already have similar interests with those people. So I'll say try and just gain some exposure so that you know how to relate with people, so that you get the opportunity to interact with people, so that you can invite people to Nigeria. I have invited Hollywood stars to Nigeria before in 2022. This was for the AMVCs, African Magic Viewers Choice Awards. Yes. And they came because I had partnered with a larger organization, all of that. And then through that partnership, I was able to now launch my own, should I call it return leg? Do you understand? I was able to launch my own return trip with a delegation, and that's how my partnership with Essence Film Festival was birthed. We went in 2022, went in 2023, we went this year as well. And every time you go to places like that, be open-minded. Don't just be, sorry, I know this Pavetones is very international, but don't go and be parapoing. Like, you're not there to be talking to fellow Nigerians again. People should come back and eat your jollof here, right? When you go to places like that, seek other people. There are things called pavilions. Go to different countries' pavilions. Go and see the Italian pavilion, the Canadian pavilion. Go to different places. Make friends. And I always say at places like this, don't go there trying to make like 10, 15 friends. Sometimes it's just 1, 2 relationships. Do you understand? That you make that are meaningful. it's very awkward going to an event and seeing somebody you talk to this person for 5 minutes, you give your card, go to another person, 5 minutes, give your card, give your card, give your card. It's obvious like, it's obvious like you're looking for something. It's almost like you're trying to force it. But have conversations, talk to the person, just get like I said, or max maybe 3 people at one gathering in one evening, and you will find the people that you connect with, and make sure you stay in touch. Make sure you touch base with the person, you reach out. I'm so thankful for social media now. You can like the person's comment, you can like the person's comment, you can comment on the person's post, and that's how you keep the relationship going. So for people who want international partnerships, attend international events, get some international exposure, and just plan accordingly, okay? And then when you meet these people, please make sure you have something of value to present. Not like you're just there saying, no, I'm Nigerian, where are you from? No, that's not it. What do you understand? Just show value, and value always attracts
Love
value.
it, Toyosi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There was a lot of wealth in that. And now you're making me feel bad. I want to buy the new iPhone, but you said I should not buy it.
No, you look like somebody that can afford both. You look like someone that can afford iPhone and all the international trips.
Okay. Okiki, Marinho, moving on to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And
Okay.
I know you are someone who just was part of a Trade Connect event that happened alongside the Olympics in Paris. And you were at the head of brands and sustainability for the organization, which is the Women International Trade Connect. So my question to you is, what issues would you say are common with women-owned brands as regards IP infringement and monetizing the intellectual property?
Well, thank you. This organization you're referring to, most people won't believe that it was literally birthed just this year, like earlier in the year. The idea came to us like late February. The founder is based in Paris. She's an MBA student in Essex Business School, and she owns a fashion factory in Nigeria. As it stands, she's deliberating whether she wants to sell off that factory and just focus on making clothes and items abroad instead, because of what we call the competitive advantage. Because these days, making things in Nigeria, trying to sell it abroad, is getting more expensive for us. And trying to sell it there, a lot of small businesses here, they don't have what it takes. Sometimes they think they are ready for the international market, but they really are not. So this first edition event we put together in Paris, it was a good opportunity for people to liaise with people. We had it at the Le Marais. It's a very affluent area in Paris. So we could hear firsthand what a lot of customers over there thought about African brands. Believe it or not, they said they hardly have Nigerian brands that show up in Paris. I was shocked to hear that. That was my first time trying to do anything in Paris anyways, because I have more of an affiliation with the United Kingdom. So we got a lot of insights on what people there want or what their expectations are. Of course, sustainability is a big deal now. We were able, okay, even what I'm wearing today is an Adire print. It's not a graphic design done in China. This is done by, our men and women back home. So we were able to educate them that from the onset, our foundation in Nigeria already has a lot of sustainability things that we do. Grandmothers, grandfathers passing clothes down even to the kids. And they can only do that because of the quality of the clothing that we do from here, So it's more of the lack of structure in our industry that has held a lot of us back. So this platform is going to give people that structure that we need. So that, just like Toyosi was saying earlier, because if you can collaborate, if you have strategic partnerships, you don't need to start from scratch again. A number of these organizations already exist, and because of this organization, like I said to you, WIPO, which is a big deal for us because they've taken us on board, they want to do a lot with us. The founder of WITO was invited to Geneva, the World WTO Public Forum event. She's been invited to United Nations Peace Forum. So this platform that we just started, that we birthed this year, is already opening doors that we usually won't know about, you know. So even women that already don't know what part of their business might need a good lawyer or not, this will be an avenue by the time we start having webinars, you know, because even I have a lot of learning and unlearning to do. I joke a lot telling people that a lot of us have been creatively broke. You know, you'll be creative, but you're broke continuously every year, you know. It's time, you know. Oh, yes, now, because, you know, like I said.
I'm sorry. That just
Yeah.
sounds like a title. Either a song
Being
title or
creatively broke.
like creatively broke. Man.
Toyosi understand, you know, she was talking about her husband, how she said to him, it's not this creativity that is going to feed the family. You have to have structures in place. You have to collaborate. You have to have partnerships, you know. I also like when she said that you go into some of these rooms. I'll add to what she said, I have an elevator pitch ready. Have an elevator pitch ready, you know. I don't want to mention what my founder got to greet Macron just last week. And just before she got to greet him and all of that, she saw a guy before her. He had his own elevator pitch ready. And they handed him a card from Macron's office that he should be in touch with them. But she was just there to greet, you know, a little smile, you know, you're like, oh my God, that's the president in front of you. And in that moment, I feel like if she had it at the back of her head, what she's here to do, he probably would have given her a card as well. But you know, we are new to this space. We just started this, and I'm grateful that we took a leap of faith. Like Toyosi said, she said we should not spend on iPhones and all these things and buy a new car. I would not like really would want a car. Like when I see people's cars, I'm like, I really want this. But when I think about all the things my money has been able to do this year in investing in myself, I'm very proud. You know, happier. I'm happier. You know, the car will come. The car will come. The houses will come. But you have to reinvest in yourself, you know.
The iPhone will come.
So the iPhone will come.
And Toyosi might have the newest iPhone, so you guys
I might. We don't know.
I accept
We don't know.
Okay, thank you, Okiki. And I
Yeah.
also feel obliged to say I'm wearing an Okiki Marinho brand at the
Hey. We should make it. Thursday, I have to dress
Yeah.
you. Thursday, I have
Yeah,
to dress
no,
you.
let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do it. I'm
Aderonke,
available.
let's move on to
Thank you.
Aderonke. We're going close very soon. So Aderonke Alex-Adedipe, one question for you, and let's see your beautiful Adire too, even if Aderonke.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. We're all showing off our Adire, our African prints and all, and we love yours too. So final question for you, Ronki. With the rise of social media and platforms like YouTube, Spotify, what are the best ways for creatives to protect their work while maximizing exposure?
Okay. I think obviously with the advent of technology and all of these platforms that you've mentioned, whilst issues of piracy and intellectual property theft have existed for ages, it's become increasingly easy to be able to steal other people's IP, just like Okiki mentioned when she described the Shein scenario. However, using credible platforms as well, like YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, if you look at many of those platforms or a number of those platforms, they do have their IP policies, so to speak. They have their copyright policies. And so what I would also say is before publishing or before going ahead to publish your intellectual property on any of these platforms, you should first and foremost, like Gaise said, read through the fine prints because majority of them do have fine prints, right? and make sure that you are not signing away all of your rights by publishing on those platforms. Secondly, there's the traditional method, which even though might seem tacky, but can also still work, is using your watermark on certain types of IP. So like your videos, your images, your articles, your writings and whatnot, you can still have your watermark on those. And I think, like I said, even though it can make your work tacky, depending on what is important to you, it still works. Also, like I said, try as much as possible to engage a lawyer. Do not just publish your work on any random platform in the name of you're trying to publish. There's also a number of tools, digital tools that you can use to track your intellectual property, to see how it's being used, to see how it's being published, to see whether or not there's infringement by third parties. Of course, in the case of copyrights, it's also very easy, even though, I mean, it depends on the nature of the infringer. If it's an innocent infringer and you have a copyright notice on your work or on the platform through which you have published your work, which basically suggests that you are the owner of the copyrights, this is the date on which you created the copyrights and all of that, if as well as the copyright symbol. If the infringer is innocent, of course, the infringer would most likely not infringe. Also, consent tools, there are tools through which you can not only deter, but allow people to publish your IP, so to speak, but based on your consent. So all of these platforms, like you've mentioned, even Instagram also has a reporting tool. So for example, I know that if you use somebody, or they have a deterring tool as well. So if you use somebody's music without, what's it called, without recognizing them or without tagging them, so to speak, they would easily bring it down. And if you report, I know that there's a tool through which you can report, and when you report and based on their findings, they can easily, withdraw that publication that has been infringed upon. So yeah, those are very simple examples through which you can protect your IP on these platforms.
Thank you so much, Aderonke. So I'm just going to go straight to questions, and then I will let each speaker just finish with final 2 words to the audience. So we don't speak too much, but we have some questions and I will take them first. And then you guys can just say your final very few words as we close. So the first question I see is for Gaise. How do you define success in your creative endeavors? That I feel like you've answered it kind of, and it's a bit complicated.
Yeah. I think I have, but I mean, to give like sharp answer, I would say I feel like success is it evolves. So I mean, success 5 years ago, when you achieve that thing you call success, you don't stop living. Like something else, then something else, something else, right? As it is now, I've played a critical part in establishing this like new community of Christian sound. It's different, and then it's building, it's growing, it's getting acceptance, and all of that. At this point, for me personally in my career, I'm in a phase where I'm going to the nations, and I just started that. Just did my debut international show in London, and I mean, literally, I'm hosting my podcasts tonight live or with a live audience in Manchester, tomorrow in Birmingham. And this was not planned when I left Nigeria for my show in London, but it came out of the trip that I did, right? So at this point, like when my head is, if you ask me what's success, I'm going to be measuring it based on how much of the international community I'm about to penetrate. I'm able to penetrate, I'm able to engage, right? And it's been my mindset from time. I didn't come to, I I don't go to a nation because I want to engage Nigerians in that nation. I want to engage that nation, right? So if I go to France, I want France to hear me, not just Nigerians in France. So I'm not just chasing Nigerians in diaspora, I'm chasing the nations. So my outlook and my mindset and the way I view it is I need to penetrate the nations, I need to engage the nations, and these nations and these cities have to come in contact, experience, appreciate, and be impacted by this king from Africa.
Thank you, Gaise. Thank you. So the next question is, what is the first step to take as a creative to protect your IP rights? I believe that's for Aderonke. I also see a comment to Toyosi. Wow, thank you, Toyosi, for that networking tip. That's just a comment appreciating you. So Aderonke, what's the first step to take as a creative to protect your IP rights?
Okay, I think the first step I must say is, like I said, it's not protecting your IP first and foremost. I guess it depends on the category of the IP, but in this context, I will use copyrights as an example. So your copyrights, first and foremost, as long as it is recorded and as long as it is in a fixed form, whether digital or manual, is a right that is conferred upon you as of right without the need to register. So what I would say is that before going ahead to publish your copyrights, it is important that you have it in a fixed form. Because if you don't have it in a fixed form and you go ahead to publish, and then a third party infringes on that right, it becomes difficult to prove ownership, right? Regardless of whether or not you have registered. Of course, as I had mentioned previously, one of the extra layers of protection is making sure that you go ahead to register in most jurisdictions, even in the US, in England, as well as Nigeria. It's commonplace. So yeah, I would say that the first step is to ensure that you have your copyrights recorded in a fixed form.
Thank you. And when you say fixed form, written down somewhere?
So it depends. Again, it depends. So if it's a movie,
Something.
it's in a CD, it's in a hard drive. If it's a piece of writing in a magazine, on a platform on the web, somewhere where you can actually say, okay, this is my work and this is where I have placed it.
Before you go around telling everybody about the idea and right? You put it in a fixed form.
Exactly.
Okay. There's a question from Jim Ofodon. I believe Toyosi is able to answer this. And it says, first it says, I co-run an audio post-production company. And thank you for thanking me, Jim, for hosting this. So the question for you is, what is the best legal documentation for the owner of a movie documentary idea, and how will having that documentation help prevent issues? Since you're in the movie space, I think from a practical point of view, you can answer that question.
So first of all, I would say register that script, right? It's something that, and let me just say that legal things are they're hard. I don't know if hard is the word. It's an extra expense, more like, and with creatives are usually, especially upcoming creatives, are usually on a budget. But that extra expense is very important. Okay, so that said, register your script with the Copyright Commission. So make sure that it is clear that you own the script, because there was an issue just very recently between two powerhouses in Nollywood on who owned a series that had gone to a streaming platform. right? And then of course one person eventually won. So make sure that there's no vagueness, there's no ambiguity on who owns that script. Let it be very clear that you own the script. I think that's the first major thing. And then of course you have to now get everybody that is a part of the production to sign an agreement. Make sure there's an agreement, make sure it is clear what the terms are. Nobody again is thinking, oh, I own a piece of this film because I brought more or I brought XYZ. You know, there are things like back-end deals. You just want to clear up everything as it pertains to your film or your documentary. So make sure everybody signs a contract in terms of in when it comes to documentaries, signs a release form. You'll be surprised that somebody finishes their documentary and then somebody that they interviewed in the documentary will say, don't put my parts again. I don't want to, do you understand? Don't, even it happens with podcasts as well. So Baba, Gaise Baba. They will come on the show, they will talk. Before you finish post-production, anything they'll say, I don't like how I sounded on you don't like how you sounded, Bao. Do you understand? So you have to just ensure that everyone signs a release form, ensure that everyone signs an agreement, ensure that it is clear who owns it, get a lawyer, register that script, register that production with the Copyright Commission. I think those are the first few safe steps to take. Yeah.
Thank you, Toyosi. I want us to end this call. There are somewhat more questions, and Jim says she's a lady. My apologies. So, Oluwasegun, this is the last question I will take, and then we will end. My question is for the creatives with regards to passing on their works as legacies to future generations while still protecting their IP rights. How would they advise a fellow creative to do that? That's an interesting one. Which of the creatives would like to take that? Gaise, do you want to take that? Passing on your work as legacies to future generations.
Okay, so well, the question can actually be answered by Aderonke as well, because I mean,
I
it's
think
IP
so.
rights.
Okay, Aderonke.
What I'll say is, your IP rights are like real estate. Like intellectual property is actually like real estate. So, for instance, there are artists who have died, and their families are the ones managing their estates.
Yeah.
Right? It's a bit more tricky here. There are different aspects of our society that needs to improve and that needs to become better, right? So, but once you register an IP, that IP is intellectual property. It's property. So the same way you can hand over landed property to generations, you can hand over intellectual property to generations. So I own the right to Elijah Level, the song. Whatever that song becomes, I can actually put it in my will that the rights to Elijah Level, I give it to this child, or I give it to my wife, do you understand? It's actually a tangible asset that you can pass on. So I think that's how I would answer it.
Yeah. And I don't, Aderonke, any few words to add to that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure that I got the question, but from what Gaise said
about passing on your IP from generation to generation.
Yeah, so what is the question around that? Is it
Like
whether it's possible
yes,
or
and how to do that?
okay, yes. I mean,
legacy.
Okay. So in that regard, I do believe that Gaise, yes, answered the question correctly, but just like he said, your IP is your assets. So your IP can be given through an assignment of intellectual property, and then you record that assignment at the relevant registry, depending on where it is, whether it's the trademark registry, or rather, depending on the nature of the IP. It could be at the trademark registry or at the copyright office. So depending on the nature, but we do have a document actually called assignment of IP.
Yeah. And I think people can will it to it can be put in wills as assets.
Yeah, just as Gaise had suggested. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. This has been a very interesting webinar and enlightening, and I believe even us here learned from it. I did. I would like the panelists to just say 1, 2, or 3, max 3 words as we end today's conversation. And I will start with Aderonke.
I mean, what else can I say? Your IPs, for a creative, your IP is obviously your most valuable assets. And invest in it, invest in a professional, engage a lawyer. Lawyers are your friend. We don't bite. So that would be all for me.
Thank you. I'm moving on to Toyosi. 3 words, 2 words, 1, any.
I'll say to further protect yourself, register a company, okay? So that anything that has to do with the business goes with the company. God forbid there are any issues in future, it's a separate entity, right? Why is Gaze laughing? He has not registered the company. Gaze, you've not registered the company. Anyway, thank you.
Moving
So
on.
that's my own register, and then 2 separate entities, you are more protected that way.
Moving on. Thank you, Toyosi. Okiki Marinho, 2, 3 words. Any, 2 or 3. We can't hear you. You have to unmute. You have to unmute.
Yeah, hi. So invest in yourself. And if you need a good lawyer, please contact Pavetones. They're really, really good. And they simplify the law. Like they really do, like they understand everything. So yeah,
Thank you.
invest.
Gaze. And Marilyn, I'm coming to you for the last word. Gaze, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. My last word is for all the amazing women on this on this webinar. It's been an honor being on this with you. I find it very amazing and honoring to have been the only young man on this. And while on the webinar, I've actually like tried to connect with everyone on IG. Except those I couldn't find their handles. So I'd like to connect with you all. Let's make greatness happen. Shout out to Pavetones. We should have a meeting.
Thank you, Gaze. Thank you. We should. And Marilyn.
Okay, thank you so much, Cheryl. I want to thank our partners, Pavestones. I want to thank the speakers and the attendees for making this event possible. Together, we have explored how we can protect and empower the creative sector. And I'm so glad that this event took place. Our own goal at the NGCC is to ensure that every creative voice is heard and that this valuable knowledge will be applied to every business venture. So once again, thank you so much for this engaging session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. And from me, thank you all. Thank you, panelists. I don't take it for granted that you made time to be here. I know you're all busy and I really do appreciate you. Thank you to our attendees for making time to listen to this, and I hope you learned from it. Thank you again, Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce, represented by Marilyn, for doing this with us. It's been a really good session for me, and I hope for all of you, and I wish you the rest a really lovely weekend. TGIF, enjoy your weekend, and bye.
If you're in Manchester, come through tonight. If you're in Birmingham,
I wish I was.
tomorrow.
I would have been there. Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
We'll be
everyone.
there in
Bye.
spirit.
Bye.
In
Bye.
spirit. Bye.